Shivananda Lahiri, verse number 46. आकीर्णेन खराजिकान्तिविभवैः उद्यत्सुधा वैभवैः आधौ तेऽपि च पद्मरागललिते हंसव्रजैराश्रिते नित्यं भक्तिवधूगणैश्च रहसि स्वेच्छाविहारं कुरु स्थित्वा मानसराजहंस गिरिजानाथाङ्घ्रिसौधान्तरे। अन्वय: हे मानस राजहंस, नखराजिकान्तिविभवैः आकीर्णे उद्यत्सुधावैभवैः आधौ ते अपि च पद्मरागललिते हंसव्रजैः आश्रिते गिरिजानाथाङ्घ्रिसौधान्तरे स्थित्वा रहसि भक्तिवधूगणैः सह नित्यं स्वेच्छाविहारं कुरु. Asking Paramashiva to stay in his mind and not go anywhere. Sri Shankara addressed the mind itself in the previous shloka as a great bird. Then he directed the mind bird, saying, Parameshwara is in me itself. So, stay in this nest called Parameshwara's lotus feet, because here itself you can find tasty nectarine fruits. Then in this shloka, he compares that mind to Rajahamsa, a royal swan, and says that the royal swan always chooses a great location to reside. It stays in the king's palace. So, you, the mind, stay in the great place called Paramashiva's lotus feet, which is a palace. There you can freely roam around. He Manasa Rajahamsa, O mind, the kingly swan. Here it is known that these kingly swans always roam about in the Manasarovara. In this verse, Sri Shankara has chosen the word Manasa to denote both the mind and the Manasarovara. So the word of address Manasa Rajahamsa means the mind is Manasarovara. So, oh, the Rajahamsa which resides in this mind Manasarovara. Having addressed the mind like this, Nakharaji Kanti Vibhavaihi. Nakha means nails. Raji is the rows or columns of nails emitting Kanti, beautiful brilliance. Vibhavaihi is an abundance of such glow and brilliance. Therefore, Nakharaji Kanti Vibhavaihi means endowed with an abundance of the beautiful brilliance emitted by the rows of toenails. Akirne, such brilliance pervades all the directions, and this Udyatsudha Vaibhavaihi, spreading all around, is the beautiful white radiance emitted by the rising moon on Lord Shiva's head. Adhaute, and then all around appearing bright white. Dhauta is white, A means all around. Apicha also Padmaraga Lalite. Padmaraga is a gem which has the hue of lotus. So beautifully set with gems of reddish pink color. Hamsa Vrajaihi, those who are continuously engrossed in meditating on the meaning of the word or mantra called Hamsa. Vraja means group of. So groups of such people. Ashrite, being meditated upon. Girija Nathangri Saudhantare. Girija Natha is Parvati's husband, Parameshwara. Angri, his feet. Saudha is palace. Antara is inside. So inside the palace, which is Parameshwara's feet, sthitva, staying there, rahasi, in privacy, bhaktivadhu ganaihi saha, with groups of maidens called devotion, nityam, always, svecha viharam kuru, freely move around. In this verse, it has been mentioned that Girijanatha, that is Parameshwara's feet, is Saudha, palace. So the adjectives used are all such that they are connected very meaningfully to the dwelling in the palace. There are royal swans in this palace. It is studded with beautiful reddish pink gems and it is whitewashed, spreading brilliance all around it. Now, the significance of this description is that here the mind continuously is engaged in telling the Hamsa mantra. That is, japa of Hamsa mantra goes on all the time. A matter relating to Hamsa Mantra Japa. This was mentioned while describing the meaning for Saundarya Lahari verses, but the same is being repeated here. It is said that every day we breathe 21,600 times. When we bring the breath upwards, we say so, and as we exhale, we say hum. This is said to happen automatically without our knowledge. This is called Soham mantra. Even though we don't utter this deliberately and consciously, unthinkingly it happens, and therefore it is also called as Ajapa mantra. Meaning for this mantra is Saha Aham. He, the Lord, Saha, is me, Aham. That is, that Paramatma, Saha, is me, Aham, says the Jivatma. When continuously we say Soham, 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 the word Hamsa comes amidst the utterance, and therefore this is called the Hamsa Mantra Japa, which means we are constantly uttering the Hamsa mantra. So always Parameshwara's lotus feet is surrounded by this Hamsa mantra japa. That's why Sri Shankara is advising the royal swan-like mind that it can roam around freely without any hurdles in the palace called Parameshwara's lotus feet, wherein Hamsa mantra japa goes on uninterruptedly. Summarizing the meaning, one can visualize a palace which is Parameshwara's lotus feet. The toenails emit brilliant white radiance, and this is spread out everywhere. The pure whitewashed surfaces are clearly visible. Beauty is enhanced by the pinkish red gemstones. Being a palace, there are water bodies in which rich swans are roaming around happily. With them, you, the mind, in the form of a kingly swan, reside in the palace called Parameshwara's lotus feet. And living there, connect with the group called devotional maidens, and then in privacy, freely move around. This is the essential meaning of this verse. It implies that there is nothing greater than remaining devoted to Parameshwara all the time. With this explanation for this verse is concluded. Shivananda Lahari, Shloka number 47. शम्भुध्यानवसन्तसङ्गिनि हृदारामेधजीर्णच्छदाः स्रस्ता भक्तिलताच्छटाविलसिताः पुण्यप्रवालश्रिताः दीप्यन्ते गुणकोरका जपवचः पुष्पाणि सद्वासना ज्ञानानन्दसुधामरन्दलहरी संवित्फलाभ्युन्नतिः. Anvaya. शम्भुध्यान वसंत संगिनी हृदारामे अघजीर्णच्छदाः स्रस्ताः भक्तिलताच्छदाः विलसिताः पुण्यप्रवालश्रिताः सद्वासनाः गुणकोरकाः जपवचः पुष्पाणि दीप्यन्ते ज्ञानानन्दसुधामरन्दलहरी संवित्फलाभ्युन्नतिः दीप्यन्ते. Figuratively, calling the mind Rajahamsa, the kingly swan, Sri Shankara said that the mind can freely roam around in the palace called Parameshwara's feet. Then, in this verse, he gives the heart the figure of a garden. That is, metaphorically, the heart is called the garden. Then, the mind is asked to enjoy this garden of the heart. Shambhudhyana Vasanta Sangini. Shambhudhyana means meditation on Shambhu is Vasanta Ritu or spring season. Sangini, on the arrival of such a spring season, Hrida Rame. Hrit means heart, Arame is garden. So, heart is the garden, and in such a garden, Aghajirnachadaha. In the plants, usually it is known that with the arrival of springtime in the garden, the plants will shed all the dried leaves. Here, Agha means sins, and Jirna is dried, Chadaha are the leaves. So, the sins are the dried leaves which are Srastaha, fallen on the ground. Then Bhakti Latachadaha. Devotion is the collection of creepers, Bilasitaha, which have begun to spread. Punya Pravala Shritaha. Punya means the merits accrued, which are here referred to as the sprouts visible from the nodules. Sadvasanaha, with pleasant fragrance, the guna korakaha, buds of merits or virtues, japa vachaf pushpani, the mantras being chanted are the flowers. These flowers are deepyante, very bright and alive. Moreover, jnanananda sudhamaranda lahari. When flowers blossom, naturally they will have honey also. Maranda means honey. So, the flow of nectarine honey called Jnanananda, knowledge, bliss. That is, knowledge itself is bliss. Such a blissful knowledge, Samvit Phalabhyunnatihi, gives the benefit of virtuous deeds in the form of Brahmananda. Samvit Phala means attaining Brahmananda as the result. Abhyunnatihi is plentiful of such Brahmananda. These are Deepyante, flourishing, and then illumining everything. The garden of my heart has a collection of all virtues. In other words, this garden is an abode of all virtues. This is the essential meaning we get from the Padam here. Now, putting it all together, meditation on Parameshwara is the spring season. This season is manifest in the garden of my heart. In this garden, with the arrival of spring season, the sins called dry leaves have withered away and fallen, while the collection of creepers called devotion have spread themselves everywhere. Further, in this garden, the nodules of meritorious deeds or punya have sprouted. Then there are buds of virtues emitting pleasant fragrance. Flowers of mantra chanting have blossomed. There is a flow of nectar called bliss of knowledge, yielding plenty of fruits in the form of vision of Brahman. Thus, in this form, my mind is blissful, filled with virtues and contentment. In this description, japa is of significance. So, we will see in detail some significant information about japa. When one starts to do japa, it is said that one should be seated facing the east or the north direction with a prepared and focused mind. In other words, engaging into mindful meditation. Now, mindful meditation itself means the five sense organs: ears, skin, eyes, tongue, and nose, in that order, which are all the medium or instruments in expressing the attributes of the five principal elements of space, air, fire, water, and earth, combined with the mind which directs all these functions. All this, with great awareness, should be gathered and focused on the mantra which is being chanted. This is called mindful meditation. Then, when this mantra itself is internally chanted in such a way that it is not heard or known externally at all, then this is the very highest form of meditation known as Uttama Japa. Uttering the mantra with the tongue and mouth but not heard by others is known as Madhyama Japa. Chanting loudly when others also can hear it is called Adhama Japa. Then, with proper swara placement, loudly chanting through the mouth is called Vachika Japa. Chanting with mouth movement but no sound heard by others is known as Upamshu Japa. In the intellect, perceiving the word and meaning of the mantra very clearly, chanting like this internally is known as Manasika Japa. For Vachika Mantra Japa, the result attained is just as much as the mantra which is chanted. That is, we can say 1:1. For Upamshu Japa, the benefit attained is 100 times more. That is 1:100. Manasa Japa blesses the meditator 1000 times more. That is 1:1000 will be the benefit attained. In this, there are two types known as Sagarbha Japa and Agarbha Japa, which are very significant and to be known. When pranayama is done before beginning the japa, and then again after ending the japa, pranayama is done, then this is known as Sagarbha Japa, which is said to be 100 times more potent than the other method. And this Sagarbha Japa is very, very exalted. That which is done without any pranayama is called Agarbha Japa. Now, the place chosen to do japa also makes a very big difference in the amount of merit or punya that will be earned. Doing japa at home yields a particular amount of punya. Multiply this, and 100 times more is attained when the same japa is done in a cattle shed, Goshala. Much more than this is the benefit attained when japa is done in a forest, Aranya Pradeshe. Further than this, when japa is done on a mountain, is the benefit attained. Then more than this is the result of the japa done on the banks of a river. Now, greater than this is the benefit accrued when japa is done in a temple. And even better place of significance is the presence of Lord Shiva. Similarly, japa done in the presence of sun, fire, guru, moon, the lamp, water, brahmanas, cows is all said to be very significant, valuable and auspicious. Explanation for this verse is concluded here. Shivananda Lahiri, Shloka number 48. Firstly, I would like to wish you all a very happy Yugadi. I pray to Parameshwara that during this year known as Vikari Samvatsara, may Parameshwara shower plenty of grace and bring happiness to you and your family. Now the shloka. नित्यानन्दरसालयं सुरमुनिस्वान्ताम्बुजाताश्रयं स्वच्छं सद्विजसेवितं कलुषहृत्सद्वासनाविष्कृतं शम्भुध्यानसरोवरं व्रजमनोहंसावतं किं क्षुद्राश्रयपल्वलभ्रमण सञ्जातश्रमं प्राप्स्यसि. अन्वय. मनोहंसावतंस नित्यानन्दरसालयं सुरमुनिस्वान्ताम्बुजाताश्रयं स्वच्छं सद्विजसेवितं कलुषहृत् सद्वासनाविष्कृतं शम्भुध्यानसरोवरं व्रज स्थिरम् क्षुद्राश्रयपल्वलभ्रमणसञ्जातश्रमं किं प्राप्स्यसि. In the previous shloka, Sri Shankara metaphorically described the heart as the garden and said that this garden has all the virtues. Now he tells the mind, O mind, in that garden itself there is a pond. You stay connected with that pond. That is, Shambhu Dhyana is the pond. So if you remain there all the time seeking refuge, you will gain very significant benefits or results. Please don't seek refuge in other devatas. That is, when we need Uttama Phala, the greatest benefit, then we should seek refuge only from the most exalted Parameshwara. This is described in this verse 48. Since Shambhu Dhyana has been figuratively described as Sarovara, pond, the words in this verse give two meanings. That is, the same word will give one in the sense of what is the benefit of Shambhu Dhyana, and then another meaning in the sense of what are the benefits enjoyed by remaining in the Sarovara. So first, Mano Hamsavatamsa. Oh, the greatest swan, my mind. Here avatamsa means sreshtha or greatest. The manas, mind, is Rajahamsa, kingly swan. Addressing the mind like this, that is, this word avatamsa implies the meaning of Raja. So Hamsavatamsa denotes Rajahamsa. Addressing the mind like this, Nityananda Rasalayam. Nityananda is eternal bliss, which is the result of doing Shambhu Dhyana. Rasalayam is the happiness gained from staying in the Sarovara of Shambhu Dhyana. In other words, from Shambhu Dhyana, one will gain eternal joy. Such joy is the rasa or water. For such joyful waters, that which is the alayam or abode. This is Shambhu Dhyana Sarovara Nityananda Rasalayam. Then, if you connect the meaning with Sarovara, Sarovara Nityananda Rasalayam means a pond which is a place for a body of water. Then similarly the next word Suramuni Swantambujatashrayam. If we connect the meaning with Sarovara, then the Sarovara is the abode, Ashraya, for Ambujata, that which is born in water, which means lotus. That is, the pond is the place for lotus. Shambhudhyana is the abode which is sought after by the hearts of Suramuni, that is, the divine or celestial sages. Sura means Devatas, Muni means Paramahamsas. That is, the realized souls of the highest order, Paramahamsas, in their Swanta, the hearts, that is, the hearts of devatas and yogis, that itself are the lotuses. For such lotuses, Shambhudhyana is the abode. Then Swachham, without any flaws or defects. In such a pond, when you take the meaning of Sarovaram Swachham, this pond has water which is very clean and pure. Then Sadvija Sevitam. Now, when we look at it as Shambhudhyana Sadvija Sevitam, the meaning will be Sat is Sajjanas, the noble thinkers. Dvija are the twice born or Brahmanas. Sevitam will mean worshipped. Shambhudhyanam is the form of worshipped followed by Brahmanas, the noble thinkers. Then you connect the meaning with Sarovara. Then the word Dvija will mean Pakshi or birds, which here in this context will be the Rajahamsas. So Sad Dvija denotes Rajahamsas. Overall, the meaning will be Sarovara is the place inhabited by Rajahamsas. Then Kalusha Hriti means removal of dirt. By Shambhudhyana, sins are destroyed or washed away. In Sarovara, the pond water is cleansed of any dirt. Such is the significance of Shambhudhyana Sarovara. Moreover, Sadvasana Vishkritam. Shambhudhyana is the outcome of nurturing good values, Sadvasana, and good impressions. Vishkritam is being manifest. In other words, Shambhudhyana is the manifestation of having over a period of time inculcated good values. Then Sarovara Sadvasana Vishkritam means the lotuses in the pond are emitting pleasant fragrance all around. Satya Shambhudhyana Sarovaram, that is dhyana, contemplation on Shambhu is the Sarovara, pond or lake. Then, leaving this, no other devata is to be contemplated upon. The lake of Shambhu, contemplation, such a lake, Shambhudhyana Sarovaram, you, O mind, Vraja, go to, or take residence in this kind of Shambhudhyana Sarovaram. Kingly swan, known as the mind, is being asked to go to and take residence in such a significant Shambhudhyana Sarovaram. Why? Because only Shambhudhyana Sarovaram is sthiram, permanent. That lake of contemplation is permanent, but the worldly lake is not permanent. It is asthira. It may dry up at any time. Therefore, the mind is asked to reside only in that sthiram, permanent lake, Shambhudhyana Sarovara. Other than that, Kshudra Ashraya Palvala Brahmana Sanjata Shramam means worshipping the devatas will give only the result of whatever is sought for, that is limited result. This is called Kshudra Ashraya, which is like Palvala Ashraya, means a very small body of water which will dry in a short span of time. By moving around in a small body of water, Brahmana, what does one gain? Sanjata. The result obtained is only Shrama, exhaustion. Such exhaustion, Kim Prapsyasi? Why would you subject yourself to that? That is, why would you go and put in so much effort where the benefit yielded is going to be very limited? In other words, do not go and seek refuge in Kshudra Devatas is the meaning. Essentially, worshipping other Devatas will give us release only from a few sins, but we will not gain mukti. It is like moving around in a small pool of water where the movement is going to be very restricted. Whereas worshipping Parameshwara, Shambhudhyana is the greatest form of worship. Therefore, Sri Shankara is telling the kingly swan, Rajahamsa, the mind, to roam about in Shambhudhyana Sarovara. When the mind is fed with only thoughts of value and virtues, then it will mature in that direction. But if it is fed with negative, violent thoughts, then it will tread the wrong path. Such is the nature of the mind. That's why scholars have said, Mana eva manushyanam karanam bandha mokshayoho. About this matter, in Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavan Krishna tells Uddhava. He says, Yatha yathatma parimrijyate sau matpunyagatha shravanabhidhanaihi tata tata pashyati vastu sukshmam chakshuryayaiva anjana samprayuktam. Listening to, speaking about Paramatma's virtuous deeds, the negative impressions and violent thoughts in the mind gradually diminish, and then the capacity to understand the subtle nature of objects arises. Then a vision of the reality and truth is obtained. In other words, by doing Shravanam and Kirtanam of Parameshwara, one after the other, step by step, that is, gradually the mind gets cleansed from unhealthy negative thoughts. This will lead to an understanding of the realities of the world and then give more and more clarity, taking one towards the truth. This is like removal of defects from the eye. Anjana or collyrium, applying that is said to improve the sight and get a better vision. Paramatma tells one more matter like this to Uddhava. Vishayan dhyayatas chittam, Vishayan dhyayatas chittam Vishayeshu vishajyate mam anusmaratas chittam mayyeva praviliyate. A person who constantly dwells on worldly objects, his mind will attach itself and desire for only those worldly objects. Whereas a person who thinks of me and contemplates on me, Bhagavan Paramatma, his mind will merge into and become one with me. These two are shlokas taken from Bhagavatam, wherein Bhagavan tells these to Uddhava. Uddhava himself was a jnani. Similarly, in Bhagavad Gita, in the second chapter, Bhagavan Sri Krishna tells, Dhyayatah Vishayan Pumsaha Sangasteshu Upajayate Sangat Sanjayate Kamaha Kamat Krodhobhijayate Krodhat Bhavati Sammohaha Sammohat Smriti Vibhramaha Smriti Bhramshat Buddhi Nashaha Buddhinashat pranashyati, which means when a man or a woman thinks of sense objects, then he connects himself with those objects, and then memory of those objects will keep his desire kindled towards them or kindled for those objects. When such desires are not fulfilled, it will result in anger. That anger obstructs right thinking, resulting in confusion and passion. Such a deluded mind causes loss of memory and loss of discriminatory thinking that further destroys the intellect. When intellect is lost, the person is also lost. Therefore, it is essential to feed good thoughts to the mind and keep it nourished with good human values. Such a mind will mature and sustain sanity. But it is very difficult to keep the mind in this right track. This difficulty is expressed by Arjuna to Bhagavan Sri Krishna in Bhagavad Gita. Arjuna seeks to understand the nature of the mind. Why does it behave like that? Why is it difficult? And how to help it? Sri Krishna explains that the mind is durnigraha, means bringing it under one's control is almost impossible. But abhyasena tu kaunteya vairagyena cha grihyate. Bhagavan gives two methods to control the mind. That is, continuous practice of meditation on Paramatma and sustained effort in detaching the mind from worldly objects. Now, the word abhyasena is very significant. Abhyasa means doing again and again and again. That is, repeating the same action multiple times, which means anything that is to be accomplished cannot be done with just one moment's effort. For a long time, sustained effort in that direction only will give success. One moment actually means a drop in a large lake. Many such drops successively placed without a break in time will result in a collection of water. So, detachment to worldly objects and meditation on Paramatma should happen on a very sustained basis. Now, one may wonder, for how long? It is said that such a commitment should be upheld until Sattva Guna predominates in the mind, to such an extent that Tamo Guna and Rajo Guna almost are rendered lost. Now, when will Sattva Guna predominate? And that depends upon how much Rajo Guna and Tamo Guna already exists. Leading a life of detachment to worldly objects and attachment with practice of contemplation on Paramatma for a length of time will certainly give a disposition for making it possible to control the mind and direct it towards Shambhudhyana all the time. Explanation for this verse is concluded. Shivananda Lahiri, Shloka number 49. Anandamrita harapadambhojalvalodhyata स्थैर्योपघ्नमुपेत्य भक्तिलतिका शाखोपशाखान्विता उच्छैर्मानसकायमानपटलीम् आक्रम्य निष्कल्मषा नित्याभीष्टफलप्रदा भवतु मे सत्कर्म संवर्धिता. अन्वय. आनंदामृतपूरिता हर पदाम्भोजालवालोद्यता स्थैर्योपघ्नम् उपेत्य शाखोपशाखान्विता उच्छैर्मानसकायमानपटलीम् आक्रम्य निष्कल्मषा सत्कर्मवर्धिता भक्तिलतिका मे नित्याभीष्टफलप्रदा भवतु. Sri Shankara told the mind to take refuge in that which is the cause for blessing one with eternal bliss, and then that which is worshipped by all the virtuous scholars and great people. And what is that? That is Shambhudhyana Sarovara. The seeker's mind is asked to refrain from worshipping other devatas and stay all the time with the beautiful pond of Shambhudhyana. Now, when one remains committed to Shambhudhyana, what would be the results enjoyed is explained in this shloka. Here, devotion is compared to a creeper figuratively. So, each word, as before, in this verse also, expresses two meanings. When a creeper grows and spreads, how does it spread, and what kind of fruit it gives? And then, when devotion matures, what are the benefits one gains? These two we will see through this shloka. Anandamrita Purita, filled with nectar called absolute bliss, which was obtained as a result of Shiva Dhyana. This is the meaning implying bhakti. The same word implying lata, creeper, will mean amrita means water. When the creeper has been watered very well, it gets ananda. That is, it is very green and looks lush and happy. Then, Hara Padambhojala Valodyata. Here, Hara is Lord Shiva, Padambhoja his lotus feet, Alavala means the pathway or the basin which is made around the root of a tree to hold water. Now, Lord Shiva's lotus feet itself is the water basin, Alavala. Coming out of that or arising out of that is Udyata, which is devotion over here. As for creeper, water poured in the pathway around the root will irrigate the creeper, and so the creeper will be growing very well. Then Sthairyopagnam. Here Upaghna means a stick or a tree trunk which is nearby, standing as a support. Now here Sthairya means fortitude. And what is the fortitude? It is the supporting stick. For devotion, fortitude is the support. For creeper, the stick is the support. Upetya, having reached such a stick or coiling around such a stick, Shakhopashakhanvita, further spreading more by winding around branches and sub-branches is this creeper, and devotion is growing in every way possible. Then growing and spreading like this, Uchchair Manasa Kaya Mana Patalim. Devotion occupies the best virtuous mind like the top of the roof of a thatch. Now here the mind is the thatched rooftop. Creeper spreads over the top of the roof. Now for a creeper to expand and grow, it needs a thatched rooftop for support. Similarly, for devotion to grow, a virtuous mind is required. So the mind is like the thatched rooftop, allowing devotion to expand and spread. Now spreading like this, akramya, devotion has occupied the whole mind, complete mind. And the creeper has spread all over the rooftop. Nishkalmasha, such devotion is free from any defect. As for the creeper, it is spreading strongly without any weak links. Now, why is this devotion defect free and strong? Because Satkarma Vardhita, it has been nourished by virtuous deeds and merits earned in previous lives. As for the creeper, it has grown well and doesn't have any weak stock because it has been cared for with a good supply of fertilizers and manure. Such a bhakti latika, devotion is likened to a creeper. And this kind of devotion may, to me, nitya abhishta phala prada bhavatu. May it bestow bhavatu always the everlasting nitya fruits and benefits phala prada that I desire to gain abhishta. When grown like this with a lot of care, creeper also will yield fruits which we like and enjoy. So may devotion also yield the fruits that I desire for is the prayer. Now, primordial existence, Moola Vastu, is the only one. We call it Vastu for purposes of understanding the absolute truth. That Vastu has now obtained the state known as Jivatma. As a Jivatma, it has many responsibilities. When Jivatma realizes itself as none other than the Atma, absolute truth, then it is free from connections to duties. As long as it is a Jivatma, it is subject to karma, papa, punya, dharma, adharma, etc. That is why we are taught to live a life of deliberate choices to help us grow spiritually. A lifestyle of karma, doing the right thing, is a very difficult task. Shastra gives injunctions as to what karma is to be done, at which stage of life, etc. Following such vidhi is not very easy. This is known as vihita karma. It cannot be done effortlessly. Now, such vihita karma becomes difficult because while doing it, one is likely to get the notion of doership. Essentially, for spiritual growth, Vihita karma is to be done without a notion of I am the doer, and also without any regrets of I have not done this or that, etc. One who does what is to be done without these strings of doership is the intelligent being. One should not try to choose the result while performing the action. In other words, one must perform one's duties with an attitude of surrender to Ishvara. While doing any satkarma or virtuous deed, there are two orientations that one can see. That is, one is a mindset of I love Ishvara, and so as Ishvara Arpana Buddhi, I do this. Another orientation is I know and understand what Shastra says, and therefore I do what is to be done. That is, with a knowledge of doership, I do what is to be done with complete knowledge. Now, gaining this kind of Shastra Jnana and Atma Jnana is not very easy. The mind should be prepared by removing the weeds of notions and emotions. The method to be followed for removing any notion and emotion is Shambhu Dhyana. This is what Sri Shankara is telling us. The more one gets engrossed in Shambhu Dhyana and stays with Shambhu Dhyana, in time it will fructify and flow in the form of nectar of Brahmananda. This experience of Brahmananda is explained in this verse. That is, devotion to Shambhu will lead to passionately staying with his lotus feet. As an offshoot of this, one will gain fortitude, devotion will mature, it will spread and occupy the whole mind, rendering the mind pure, and further, this will be expressed in the lifestyle as virtuous deeds. Such a devotion will fulfill any desire sought for. This kind of maturing and growing of devotion has been described by comparing devotion to a creeper which also spreads and yields tasty, healthy fruit when it is nourished with good water and manure. Now, generally, teachers teach the students with a sense of duty and an unbiased mindset. Here, sense of duty means teaching without any expectations for personal gain, that is, unconditionally teaching. Students also, learning from such a teacher, will enjoy the content being taught and they will gain a dutiful mindset. Therefore, mutually, the teacher and the student will enjoy Vidyananda. That is, any karma done as an offering to Ishvara is also another meaning implied by sense of duty. This will bestow Brahmananda as karma phala. Explanation for this verse is concluded. Shivananda Lahiri, Shloka number 50. सन्ध्यारम्भविजृम्भितं श्रुतिशिरस्थानान्तराधिष्ठितं सप्रेमभ्रमराभिराममसकृत् सद्वासनाशोभितं भोगीन्द्राभरणं समस्तसुमनः पूज्यं गुणाविष्कृतं सेवे श्रीगिरिमल्लिकार्जुन महालिङ्गं शिवालिङ्गितम्. अन्वया शिवालिङ्गितं सन्ध्यारम्भविजृम्भितं श्रुतिशिरस्थानान्तराधिष्ठितं सप्रेमभ्रमराभिरामम् असकृत् सद्वासनाशोभितं भोगीन्द्राभरणं समस्तसुमनः पूज्यं गुणाविष्कृतं श्रीगिरिमल्लिकार्जुन महालिङ्गं सेवे. May all our desires be fulfilled by Shivadhyana. This has been Sri Shankara Bhagavad Pada's prayer. In the next two verses, that is verse 50 and 51, he praises Sri Mallikarjuna with Bhramarambika in Sri Shailam. It is popularly known that Shivananda Lahiri treatise was composed in this place Sri Shailam by Sri Shankara Bhagavad Pada. In this verse, the last line is sung as Sri Giri Mallikarjuna Mahalingam Seve. Sri Giri means Sri Shailam. Residing in this place, the Mahalingam named Mallikarjuna, unto him I offer worship. This is the meaning. The specific meaning for Mallikarjuna and Mahalingam is like this. The Arjuna Vriksha or tree is entwined by the jasmine creeper, Mallige Huvu. The supporting tree is Mahalingam. The word Linga means that which symbolically points to Paramatma. In other words, that which is one and non-separate with the subtle Paramatma. Therefore, it is Mahat, great. So, it is known as Mahalingam. There is a significance for this place itself. In the surroundings of Sri Shailam hill, there are two lakes. Around these lakes are small Lord Shiva temples. Behind the temple of Mallikarjuna is the temple of Parvati. Here, Parvati is also known as Mallika Devi, and Lord Shiva is also known as Arjuna. That is why this Jyotirlinga obtained the name Mallikarjuna. This is only mentioned as the jasmine creeper entwining the Arjuna tree. It also implies the name of Parvati and Parameshwara. And also it conveys the meaning, the subtle Paramatma revealing his subtle self by himself in a subtle way. Such a Mahalingam. This is how scholars describe the Sri Shaila Mahalingam. As has been the pattern of description through many earlier verses which we saw, in this verse also Sri Shankara has used words which will convey two meanings. That is, one meaning will pertain to the jasmine creeper and Arjuna tree, another meaning will be pertaining to Parvati and Parameshwara. Generally, in Lord Shiva temples, the evening puja which takes place will be very grand and elaborate. Pradosha Kala Puja is believed to render purity and bestow grace, say scholars. So, Sri Shankara is now describing that great linga as Shiva Lingitam, Shiva Alingitam. Here Shiva means Parvati, Alingitam embraced by, being embraced by Parvati. Now here there is a significance. The base supporting platform-like structure for the linga is called Linga Vedi, which means it is a part of the linga. That Vedi platform is Parvati. So Shiva Lingitam means in the form of a supporting structure, the Shakti Parvati is all around embracing Shiva Linga. Moreover, that great linga is Parameshwara himself. Therefore, in the form of that linga, the whole world is merged and appears unmanifest, and this symbol of Parameshwara is known by the name Linga. Linga also means symbol. Such a great Shiva Lingitam, Sandhyarambha Vijrumbhitam, one who is very vibrantly and energetically worshipped at the arrival of evening twilight. Shruti Shirasthanantaradhishtitam. Shruti means Vedas, Shira is the crown, so Shruti Shira means Upanishads, Antara Adhishtitam, that which is established in places other than the Upanishads. For example, in temples of Sri Shailam, Kedara, Varanasi, etc. Saprema Bhramarabhiramam. Abhiramam means very beautiful. Saprema is very lovingly. Bhramara is goddess Bhramarambika. Because of the oneness with the loving Bhramarambika, Lord Shiva appears very beautiful or Abhiramam. Asakrita. Sakrita means once. So Asakrita means always. Sadvasana Shobhitam. That Shiva who appears grand and beautiful because he is always surrounded by the yogis. Bhogindra Bharanam. Bhogi means Sarpa, snake. Indra is king. So king of snakes means Adisesha. Bharanam, ornament, decorated by the serpent king Adisesha. Samasta Sumana Pujyam. Sumanaha has three different meanings: scholars, devatas, and flowers. In this context, we take the meaning of scholars and devatas. Samasta is all the, Pujyam worshipped. One who is worshipped by all the scholars and devatas. And then Gunavishkritam, one who is known by a predominance of Sattva Guna. And who is that? Shri Giri Mallikarjuna Mahalingam. As explained earlier, the Mahalingam known by the name Mallikarjuna residing in Sri Shailam. Seve, I worship. Now we will see how the meaning of the same words connect with creeper and tree. Sandhyarambha Vijrumbhitam means blossoming very beautifully at the onset of the evening twilight. Shruti Shirasthanantaradhishtitam. Shruti means the ears, Shiraha head, Sthana is place, Antara other than, adhishtitam, placed or kept. That is, leaving the ears and head, or other than the ears and head, all the other parts use the flowers to do puja. Or we can say that the flowers are used to adorn the ears and head of the Lord. Saprema Bhramarabhiramam. Bhramara is honeybee, rendered beautiful by the eager honeybees, is the meaning. That is, the jasmine flowers are in full bloom, so there will be honey in them. The bees are anxiously bumbling around to enjoy that honey. So, such a jasmine which is rendered more beautiful by the bumbling honeybees. Asakriti, always, Sadvasana Shobhitam, rendered beautiful by the pleasant, sweet fragrance of the flowers. Bhogindra Bharanam, here Bhogi means those who always experience only happiness. And who are they? They are the Devatas and Indra. It implies all the celestials. So, these celestials, Abharanam, to them, as ornament is the jasmine flower, Samasta Sumanaf Pujyam. And then this jasmine flower is worshipped by all the other flowers because this jasmine is specially known as king of flowers. Gunavishkritam, very distinctly known by its own natural fragrance. Such is the beautiful jasmine creeper which is coiling itself around the Arjuna tree. Now here a short narration pertaining to Sri Shailam. Once the topic of marriage came up between Lord Shiva and Parvati. That is, they were discussing as to among Ganapati and Shanmukha who should get married first. Then Parvati Parameshwara told them, whoever goes around the earth, that is Bhumi Parikrama, and returns first can get married first. On hearing this, Kartikeya climbed on to his peacock vehicle and set out to do the Bhumi Parikrama. Ganapati started thinking, my vehicle is a small mouse and my body is so huge. How can I do Bhumi Parikrama? But then Ganesha, being very clever and intelligent, spent some time thinking of a strategy. Then he asked his parents to sit together in a seat, and then he went around them, circumambulated them, and said, my parents are my world, so now I have circumambulated you both. So I have completed Bhumi Parikrama. Saying so, he did namaskara to his parents. Appreciating his power of thinking, Parvati Parameshwara were delighted and they performed his marriage. In the meanwhile, Kartikeya, almost completing Bhumi Parikrama, was returning. On the way, he met Narada Muni, who is known to always roam around the world doing Namajapam. Narada informed Kartikeya about Ganesha's marriage and the children he has. Ganesha was married to Siddhi and Buddhi, the daughters of Vishwarupa Prajapati. Siddhi had a son named Kshema and Buddhi had a son named Labha. Kartikeya felt very sad on hearing this. Yet he went to his parents to complete the circumambulation. Then he offered namaskara according to tradition and as demands proper etiquette. Following that, in spite of objections from his parents, he left for Krauncha Parvata because he was very angry with his parents. Now, being separated from Kumaraswamy, Mother Parvati was very pained, and Lord Shiva uttered many words of wisdom and he pacified Parvati. Still, she could not get over her sorrow of being separated from her son. So, Lord Shiva sent many sages to bring Kumaraswamy. Devatas and many rishis also accompanied sage Narada and they all went to Krauncha Parvata, offered salutations to Kumaraswamy, sang many verses of praise to him. and then they explained Lord Shiva's orders to motivate him to return. But Kumaraswamy refused to accept all their reasons and he did not return. They all returned to Lord Shiva, gave their news, and they left to their own abode. This made Shiva Parvati very sad. As parents, the abounding love they had for their son caused them to themselves go to Krauncha Parvata. Kumaraswamy, knowing ahead of time that parents are on their way to see him, he left Krauncha Parvata and went farther away from there into the deeper dense forest. Shiva Parvati, seeing that their son had gone very far away, they remained stationing themselves in the form of Jyotirlinga in that Krauncha Parvata. Because of their love for their son, they would go to meet Kumaraswamy every fortnight. That is, on the new moon day, Lord Shiva would go to have darshan of Kumaraswamy, and on full moon day, Parvati Devi would go to have Kumaraswamy's darshana. Since that day, Mallikarjuna Linga came to be popularly known as Jyotirlinga. As mentioned earlier, Mallika is a name for Parvati and Arjuna is a name for Shiva. In this way, since that time, the Jyotirlinga became popular on earth in the name of Mallikarjuna Linga. Sri Shaila is also a Shakti Pitha. Sati Devi's Shakti came to be established in 18 places. Those places are very popular as Mahashakti Pitha. Of those 18, Sri Shaila is one such Shakti Pitha. When Sati Devi entered Daksha Prajapati's Yajna Kunda, then Shiva roamed around with the body of Sati Devi, which was shattered into 18 parts and fell in different places. And then the part of her body, that is the lips, is said to have fallen in this place, Sri Shailam. Since then, Sri Shailam became a Shakti Pitha. Explanation for this verse is concluded here.